Hello, my friend. I'm so happy that you're here. Welcome to this episode of The Juggle is Real. I am Andryanna, and I felt it really important to have this conversation and share some of the things I've learned about a topic called hurry sickness. And you know what? It's a behavioral pattern. It's not a diagnosable condition, but it is very important that we recognize it, especially at this very busy time of year, because there are some negative consequences of hurry sickness. And I think that in society today, we are really perpetuating the ongoing doing more, hustle, do it faster, multitask type of lifestyle. And don't get me wrong, I know just as much as you do that the juggle is real. And you've likely already done about a million tasks, even if you're listening to this first thing in the morning. And I know that there's a lot that has to happen and get done and do in a day. So that's why I thought we could spend a short amount of time right now understanding more about what hurry sickness is and what we can do to negate this behavioral pattern, how we can take those short pauses to reset, recalibrate, and find peace within our days. And I'm not asking much here. I promise you, it's not going to add more to your list. It's only going to make you feel less stressed and then become more efficient so that you can be productive within your day. So if that sounds good to you, let's dive right in. Hey, I'm Andryanna, and this is the Juggle is Real podcast. As I share my ongoing journey from experiencing burnout to leading a more mindful and intentional life with better balance, I hope you feel seen, that you realize your worth, lighten your load, and prioritize your own needs. As we hear from leading experts and well-known faces in the wellness, entrepreneurship, education, and motherhood space, I hope you gain insights, proven practices, and learn actionable tools to help you enjoy the juggle of work, family, and everything in between with a little less stress and a lot more ease, joy, and fun. Most of all, I hope you find what you need to simplify, streamline, and supercharge your own journey of better balance and self-love. Are you with me? Let's get started. Okay, so you're probably wondering what the heck hurry sickness is and where did it originate? And so hurry sickness was coined by cardiologists Meyer Friedman and Ray Rosenman, who wrote in their book called Type A Behavior and Your Heart about what they called hurry sickness. So again, it's not something that you would go to the doctor and say, oh, I'm sick. Can I get a diagnosis of hurry sickness? It really is that pattern, that behavior that kind of sneaks up on us. So what is hurry sickness? Well, hurry sickness by definition is that behavior pattern that's characterized by continual rushing and anxiousness, that overwhelming and continual sense of urgency, right? So continual rushing, continual anxiousness, and that overwhelming sense of urgency in everything that we're doing. So it can also be that feeling that you're chronically short of time, that you're behind, so you have to do things faster. You might get frustrated. You might get flustered when you encounter any type of delay, any type of setback, any type of even small instance where it might take you a few extra seconds to do something. So think about this. And you know what? I am not sitting here on my high horse saying, that I don't do any of these things, because as I was reading through these different articles and different research findings on hurry sickness, I found myself like, oh snap, I do that. And I find myself in these places from time to time. So, often hurry sickness can come about when you're rushing into work. You're late, you dropped off the kids, and it's a big fluster, and then you're rushing. If a car comes into your lane and then is driving slow, you're honking the horn, or you're feeling really frustrated, you're muttering words that maybe aren't super kind under your breath. You're navigating that traffic, and then you get to work, you get to your desk, you open up your computer, you feel like you're already behind, you see the emails coming in, you're feeling really overwhelmed, you don't know where to start. And then you're rushing again, you're rushing to the next meeting, or you're rushing through your lunch and just trying to hurry up, or you're maybe not even taking a lunch and you're just grabbing a few bites while you're sitting at your desk. And really, when your work day ends, the after school routine ensues, and you're rushing again. You're trying to get dinner ready. You got to get the kids to their extracurricular activities, and there's really no time in your day to pause and catch your breath. So if this sort of frantic sense of being on the go all the time, from the moment you wake up until your head hits the pillow before bed, if that seems familiar, if you're not able to relax, if you've constantly got those thoughts and those million things running through your head, you're feeling panicked, you're feeling overwhelmed and anxious because your to-do list is so long, my sweet friend, you may be suffering from hurry sickness. So I'm bringing this up because I know how easy it can be to kind of get wrapped up in this spiral. And I know how easily it can kind of get out of control. And the longer we live in this state of hurry sickness, the more detrimental it can be on your health. And I will tell you that this was my constant state only a few years ago. This was the daily norm. And this is really and truly why I crashed into burnout. So moving through the world in that perpetually rushed state can really have those negative effects on both your physical and your mental well-being. It can affect your work, your relationships, your home life. And the good news is that becoming aware of something means that now we can make a change and we can shift, and it doesn't have to be hard. And it's not going to take a lot of extra time out of your life, and it's only going to make you feel better. So we don't want to live in this perpetual state of hurry sickness, because we know that it's only going to be stressful on our bodies, and chronic stress weakens your immune system. It interferes with your sleep. It interferes with your energy levels. So being chronically stressed means that you feel more tired, and it takes you more energy to do the simple tasks that you have to complete. So it certainly becomes this vicious spiral, and it can impact our behavior towards others. In situations, you might find yourself unnecessarily getting aggravated, or maybe, being very reactive towards your children, towards your spouse, towards your colleagues, or maybe towards total strangers. Like you're at the grocery store and you're trying to find out which line is longer, and you're trying to get to the shortest line, but then the person in front of you is taking a really long time, or they're counting out their change to hand to the cashier, and you're only getting more and more frustrated. So we want to make sure that these patterns subside. And you know what? Maybe you're going to find yourself late. Maybe you're going to be rushing sometimes. But I do have some suggestions that you can look at implementing, finding those small little spaces, creating pockets in your day that's going to allow you to come back to yourself. Remember that everything's going to be okay, and then move forward to the next task, feeling like everything is going to be fine. If you suspect that you butt up with hurry sickness constantly or from time to time, let's look at some different strategies and some different tools that we can remember when we are feeling this frenzied state, when we are butting up with this behavioral pattern. So I found on mindtools.com 3 different types of strategies that are grouped into action-oriented strategies, acceptance-oriented strategies, and emotion-oriented strategies to overcome hurry sickness. But before I get into these little suggestions that you probably already know, and maybe you do incorporate some of them, I want you to first look to, and when you feel yourself getting into this frenzied state, consider what is truly that emergency, what is that time-sensitive task that has to be completed, and what can wait? What are we putting on our plate and getting all stressed about that really isn't like a life or death at the moment situation? So when we treat every task like an emergency that has to be handled ASAP, that is when we are painting that picture of the chronic stress situation. Because when we can prioritize what actually really needs to get done, and then maybe we can put tasks in the would be nice once these items are completed, then it allows us that space. It allows us that additional capacity. It frees ourselves from the mental load, and we don't have that excessive urgency for every single thing that's on our list. So when it comes to the action-oriented strategies, I think that boundaries really come into place here. And yes, it's the B word. It can sound scary, but really being more assertive with what we are putting on our plate, with what we are taking on, and with what we are saying yes to. And sometimes, my friend, sometimes it's the things that we still enjoy that can end up just putting too much on our plate and causing that overwhelm. So sometimes our hurriedness is caused by other people not doing what they should be doing. So it's important that we let them know. If you're late for work because your kids weren't getting to school on time, then that's a conversation that we have to have. How can we better communicate what needs to happen? Is it making a chart in the morning for our kids? Is it developing some consequences when they're not doing their part? And I'm being hard on the kids here, but this can be with colleagues. This can be with your partner. This can be with your extended family. Really understanding that having clear and setting boundaries is important because it allows us to stay focused on what really matters. So not taking on work that should be delegated to others. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the next action-oriented strategy, which is to stop multitasking. And I know we are constantly juggling many things, but when we are spreading ourselves too thin, when there are too many balls, something's inevitably going to drop. So being able to focus on one thing at a time, not doing 20 things at once, is going to allow us to be more efficient with those tasks that we're actually doing, get them done in a faster way, in a more productive way, and really devote the time that is required to that task. So multitasking is not good. Multitasking leads to that chronic stress. Okay, so these are these action-oriented strategies. And we're going to look at one more, and this is something that we can probably have a whole other podcast episode about. And I would love to find an expert who can really help us with this. But time management is a term that we've all heard. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, right? So we can't actually manage time, but we can manage our actions. We can manage what we're doing during the hours that we have. So switching our focus from multitasking to actually doing one thing at a time, it's actually a skill that you develop that allows you to do things faster so that you can, at the end of the day, have more done. So understanding this, knowing that managing our activities will allow us to get the results that we want, can really maybe put things into perspective for us. So those action-oriented strategies, again, is to set those boundaries, be really clear about what you're going to take on and what you're going to say no to, ending that multitasking as much as possible, and then understanding that we cannot manage time, but we can really prioritize what we're doing in that time. Now let's move on to some acceptance-oriented strategies. And these are approaches that we can apply when we really don't have any power to change the situation. Sometimes things are out of our control, and the sooner we accept the circumstances, the sooner we can move past them in a way that promotes more ease, more flow, and less stress. So some of these are going to be like, yeah, okay, Andryanna, let's go ahead and do that. But the first one is really to try to slow down as much as possible. So when you are rushing and hurried, you don't have time to think about what you're actually doing. You don't have that time to recalibrate and get the perspective of everything always works out. Everything always gets done. And the time that I spend actually contemplating and thinking allows me to be more efficient and more productive. So actually taking breaks, it sounds counterintuitive because you're quote unquote wasting time. But I promise you that small, tiny little pockets, even if it's just to get up and stretch your legs, take a few slow, deep belly breaths, slowing down, collecting your thoughts brings you to that state of oneness, brings you to find a bit of peace among the chaos. So when we can slow down, and I'm not saying for huge amounts of time, but tiny little pockets, even scheduling short breaks within your day allows us to release that pressure that we're putting on ourselves that is unnecessary. And I will tell you that when I was in the heart of experiencing burnout, I went to a naturopathic doctor, and her prescription for me, among other things, was to every hour set a timer for 60 seconds to take a 1 minute pause for deep breathing. And at first I was like, you are nuts. This is not going to work. This is not going to be helpful. I'm wasting my time here to stop every hour to do this. But I will say that it helped me so much more than I could have ever anticipated. So when we are looking to acceptance-oriented strategies, just take a minute to slow down. You'll never understand how rejuvenating it can be to come back once you're in a state of calm where the anxiety has surpassed and you can look at the challenges that you are facing or even those mundane, monotonous tasks of the everyday with a fresh set of eyes. So we're going to slow down. That's an acceptance-oriented strategy. We're going to stop and take a break, a longer break. And then the last acceptance-oriented strategy can be to seek support. No one truly knows what's going on in our heads. No one truly knows the battles that we are facing internally until we communicate them. Allowing that communication to be clear can really take a lot of that pressure off yourself. Letting your family members know that you are only one single solitary person who needs help around the house, who needs help getting tasks done, who needs support in all of the things that have to be done from the perspective of someone who is managing a home, managing a career. When you share your concerns, when you share your tasks and your responsibilities, that busyness, that hurriedness can then be delegated, and you have less on your plate from a mental load and a physical load. And the last thing I'll say in seeking support, if the people around you do not understand, if the people around you are not willing to actually be supportive, then there are places that you can go to seek that guidance and that counsel and that support. There's a lot online. You can get a lot of free tools, but seeking the help of a coach, of a therapist, of a counselor can also be really helpful, because oftentimes it's hard to see past the blur. It's hard to see past the smoke, but a third party perspective can allow us that different approach, maybe to suggest something else, maybe to just help you clarify and to help you make things more clear. And a really good friend can also be that person. So don't judge yourself harshly. Ask for help. And I will say 99% of the time, you're going to receive the support you need when you seek it. But it starts by actually going out and looking for that support. So if you're constantly feeling overwhelmed, sometimes it can be useful to look at the things that you can control, the things that are under your influence, and then the things that really you have no control over. And these acceptance mode strategies can really help you in sorting what you can control and what you can't. And then the third group of strategies and tools that I would like to share with you are what mindtools.com is calling emotion-oriented strategies. And so this category of tools can be really useful when that hurry sickness that you're experiencing comes more from your mindset, more from how you are perceiving the situation to be than how it actually is, or how you can look at making a shift in your mindset in how you're thinking about something to change the feelings and the behaviors of hurry sickness. So these are maybe the woo-woo things that you maybe can brush off from time to time, but I saved these ones for last because these can be the easiest to implement, but also be the most effective. So positivity, my friend. It is easy to, when you are late, when you're rushing, when you're in a hurry, to find all of the negative things that are happening to you. How dare that person butt in front of you in line? How dare your spouse say that thing to you about how this or that or the other thing? It's easy to get in that negative spiral of thinking when you're already overloaded, when you're already overwhelmed and you're already rushing. But working with more of a positive outlook can help you feel a little bit more on par, a little bit more equal to the challenges that are facing you, and allow you that motivation to want to tackle them with more ease and more grace. So how can we quote unquote stay positive? It's not just putting a smile on your face. It's actually setting those realistic expectations for yourself, knowing that you are only one person who can accomplish so much. It's things like using those affirmations, looking to the person who you want to be. If you don't want to be the hurried, frenzied, basket case person, then who do you want to be? I know that some affirmations that were very, very helpful for me, especially during lockdowns, especially during times where I didn't have a lot of control over what was happening around me. Knowing who I wanted to be during those times was really, really helpful. So I would repeat to myself, I am calm. I am a present parent and partner. I am patient. I am loving. I am kind. And remembering these things, I am effective. I create ease in my life. Coming back to these, and it's up to you, right? What are these feelings? What are these emotions that you want to have? Affirming it to yourself, reminding yourself of how incredible you actually are, and affirming it again and again creates those pathways in the brain that then become familiar. So the hurried behavioral pattern, when you are telling yourself, no, I get things done in my own time. I am calm. I create space. I have time for myself, allows you to then come back to that with more ease. It becomes more comfortable for you, because oftentimes when we're going from rushed to try to slow down, it can feel uncomfortable because you're used to being at that constant state and pace that, even though it's unrealistic, even though it's harming you, even though it's not good for your health. It's what you know. And so it feels comfortable. And our bodies are programmed to stay within our comfort zones, even if what's comfortable is not good for us. So having affirmations, looking to those journaling practices, hiring a coach, doing something that's putting you in a positive mindset, right? Using those meditation tools, having a guided practice that brings you back to the state of being more mindful, being more positive is going to help you in tackling all the things that have to be done. So yes, emotion-oriented strategies, looking to positivity. And I will say another way to incorporate these emotion-oriented strategies to help you to stay positive is to incorporate a gratitude practice. And there are so many different ways of doing this. It can be to remember what you're grateful for. I used to, in the morning, write down 10 things I was grateful for. And sometimes I would wake up and I would be grouchy and I would think, oh my God, as if I have to do this. I don't feel like doing this. Am I going to come up with 10 things? And it can be as simple as looking out the window and seeing a beautiful tree, right? I'm grateful for the tree outside my window. I'm grateful for the blue sky. I am grateful for the hot cup of coffee that I have in my hands. And then you can get into the bigger things. And some of them you might repeat, some of them you might say again and again. But coming back to, you know what? Maybe things aren't so bad. You know what? There is a lot that we can be grateful for. It brings us back to that state of calm, brings us to that more mindful place where we can feel the emotions of gratitude, which puts us in that not fight, flight, or freeze mode, but that safe mode, which helps us then to tackle what we have to do. Another thing that can be really helpful, and it was learned to me in the book, The Gap and the Gain by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan, is to celebrate your wins. Every single day before you go to bed, write down 3 wins for that day, 3 things that you did that you are proud of. And oftentimes when we are in that hurried state, the days go by in a blur. But coming back before we start scrolling, before we're watching a show, writing down, it can be in your phone, a small journal, being mindful of 3 things that you totally rocked. And it can be as small as preparing a meal for your family and getting food on the table. It can be something great that happened at work. It can be choosing kindness in a moment where maybe it could have been really easy to be rude to someone or to honk that horn or to make a decision that then might have snowballed into something more. What are 3 wins every single day that you can celebrate? Okay. And then the last thing that I will say, and this is just a few items that can be helpful. This is not an exhaustive list, but when we're talking about looking to action, when we're looking to acceptance, and we're looking to those emotional related strategies, when we're trying to reduce our hurry sickness and lead life with more mindfulness, more intention, well, what can we do? How can we start? And so I'm going to end this episode with just a short list of a few things that have been helpful for me that you can take into your life, that you can incorporate today and now, that might help you in going from hurried to feeling more calm. The first thing is waking up a little bit earlier. And this has been such a game changer for me. Start with 15 minutes. Waking up 15 minutes earlier in the morning to take those few deep breaths, to quietly sip a hot beverage, to maybe write down your gratitude. Doing this is an act of self-care that will snowball and have such huge returns on those small pockets that you're investing in yourself. So if you're saying, I'm not a morning person, I hate it when that alarm goes off, try it for a few days and see how it impacts your life. Another thing that has been helpful for me is packing lunches the night before, being ready for my next day, feeling prepared for my next day. So you are borrowing some time to save you time the next day. So in the morning, when we're really in a state where oftentimes we don't have unlimited amounts of time, where every minute truly counts, taking the things that maybe we can remove from our plate and doing it the night before can allow us more peace the next day, can provide us with that unhurried feeling. So we're starting our mornings off in a way that has less stress. So we're packing lunches, maybe we're picking out clothes for ourselves or our kids the night before. Maybe that allows us time to actually be more present with our children, more time for ourselves in the morning. And it allows us to stay in that state of positivity. Okay. The next one is really being intentional about that morning commute, wherever you're going. It can, even if you're working from home, how can we make it more intentional? So when you're going to school, if you drop your kids off, or if you're heading to the bus stop, is there some type of a ritual that you can add to it? Maybe it's playing a certain type of music. Maybe it's, having that gratitude practice with your kids. Maybe it's listening to a podcast on your way to work or an audiobook, looking to that positive growth. How can you work on yourself, that personal development in a way that's going to help you stay positive, keep you in that framework? So how can you be intentional about those ways that those things that we're doing every single day, but adding a spin to it to allow it to feel more calm and more peaceful? Next one is, being really realistic about how much time we have. So that planning and self-care, this comes in again, but maybe it's ordering dinner if you know that there's a lot on your plate that day. Maybe it's prepping your dinner in advance the night before, or filling that crock pot so it's ready when you get home, or you have a plan before you get home. So you're not walking in the door, everyone's starving, everyone's cranky, and then you're trying to think, oh, what do I have? What can I put together? Having that plan in place so that you know that things are covered. And again, this takes time, right? This is an investment in your day. So whether it's Sundays, thinking about it for the week ahead, whether it's in the morning, whether it's looking at your schedule and saying, okay, no, we don't have time for a full sit down meal. Here's what we got to do. We're going to pick up a pizza. What can you do to prepare in advance so you're not left in a situation, a circumstance where you're going to find yourself rushing and hurrying? And so this can be a place for me where I found that when I'm not prepared in advance, when we've got to leave for hockey practice almost immediately after getting home from school, I need to prepare so that we're not hurrying, we're not rushing, and things are ready to go so that we can have that mindful time together. And then here's the last one. And these are just suggestions. You don't have to do all of them. Try one, see how it works for you. Try them all. Maybe it'll change your life. But once the kids are asleep, or once you're done for the day, I think the statistic is that over 90% of us, the last thing we do before we go to bed is look at our phones. And then the first thing we do the second we wake up is look at our phones. And I am guilty of this, my friend, as well. But I'm trying to be more mindful. So I'm going to suggest 10 minutes after your kids are asleep. Write in your journal, write down those 3 wins. Maybe it's stretching or doing that deep breathing for a small pocket of time before you turn on the reality TV, before you're watching the news, before you're scrolling social media. Be mindful with how you end your day as well. And I promise you, when you end your day in a peaceful, intentional way, where you're feeling gratitude, when your body is feeling well, you're going to sleep better. Your subconscious mind is going to recall those feelings that you had, the emotions that you exhibited before you fell asleep, and it's going to allow you to then wake up in a better state, feeling more mindful, feeling more calm, and then it sets you up for success the next day. So what else can we do? I would love to hear from you. Do you have practices in place that help you and prevent you from hurry sickness? I would love to hear from you. You'll find an email address in the notes for this podcast episode. You can also send me a DM on Instagram. I truly love to hear the feedback from you. If you're implementing any of these practices in your life, if you're finding success and you're moving away from hurry sickness, or you have a plan in place that's going to make you feel better, please reach out. You can find those links in the podcast notes. And of course, share it with a friend, share it with someone who maybe is rushing around a lot, who's feeling overwhelmed, who is perpetually stressed. Maybe they're feeling burnout. This is a great episode to share with someone that's going to help them turn their life around in the most beneficial way. And if you gain from this episode, can you do me a quick favor and rate this episode, write me a short and sweet review in Apple Podcasts. It helps other people to find this material, to gain these valuable insights, and to learn how to live a more mindful and intentional life. And I think the more we're all doing this, then the easier life gets for all of us, the happier we can feel, the more ease and joy and love that this world can really, truly be. And I think we really, really need it, especially right now. So I send all my love to you, and I can't wait to see you for another episode of The Juggle is Real. Take good care.